Hi, Larry and Billie. We're so glad that you're willing to share some ideas about how you have been working on restoring your marriage and taking it to another level. And the topic we're talking about today is how you have dealt with pornography.
Sure.
And how, Larry, that has affected your life and then your history with that as well. So, Larry, how about if we start with you? What started with pornography with you in your life?
When I was about 13 years of age, I was walking through the woods and I found some pornography underneath a whole bunch of boards. And that's what started me in the process of looking at pornography and desiring the visual picture of a woman and not even having any relationships with any young girls or anything at that time, or even a girlfriend. So consequently, when you start down that road, it really feeds your flesh and feeds your innermost desires from a fleshly standpoint. And so that's what it really did for me. And I found myself objectifying women, looking at things on TV and fantasizing about women. And it was just a process of, and part of masturbation too, of course. That's all part of pleasuring yourself. But it's such a selfish, pleasurable way. And I didn't see it as selfish because I was an only child. I was growing up in a family. My dad wasn't really very demonstrative or loving in the way that I felt I needed, because I've always been a very sensitive person. And so consequently what happened was I had some challenges in just growing up and understanding my body and how to properly manage it, you know. And obviously those things were not the right things to do. And I know we've all had challenges, and I'm not saying, but for me personally, it was like being in a cave with darkness all around me, and I couldn't find the light. And so I didn't grow up in a family with any kind of Christian values or background or anything like that. I grew up in a family that was somewhat hedonistic. When I say hedonistic, there was no real mention of God. There was no connection with God. And so I desired more. And so I actually started going to my own church, and I started to do things outside of my family that would bring some faith into my life. Had some challenges understanding that, but I went through that process. So as I go forward, I continued down that road into pornography, and then I had some really very challenging issues happen to me. When I was 13 years old, I had a man jump in my bed who was naked in a hotel room, and I was scared out of my mind. I jumped out the window in the bathroom, acted like a girl, and said, I gotta go. I jumped out the bathroom window, and I came across the coach that was there, and we were at this tennis trip is what it was in Wenatchee, Washington. And I told him, I said, there's a naked man on my bed. He says, go back to bed. And I'm like, nobody's gonna help me here. I got to do this myself. So they left the front door open, or the door open of the hotel. Somebody did, and I don't know how that all happened. I had the bed at that night because we all had different beds, and there were two other guys with me. And so I came back in, and I took my tennis racket, and I said, get the hell out of my bed. I said, I'm not this type of person. You need to leave. And of course, by that time, everybody's woken up, right? And
so, Larry, with that situation, that was
Sure.
the beginning. Were there others that impacted you?
Oh, yeah. There was a neighbor boy who tried to molest me. That was scary in its own right. When somebody wants to show you something of theirs and you just don't want to be a part of that at all, and you're scared, and you're still little, so you don't understand. And then consequently, my parents would always leave me home alone by myself to take care of myself and take care of the house. And so that added to some of my fear. I remember, I was thinking about this the other day, when I was about 16 years old, I had a man, we actually belonged to an Eastmore Racket Club, which is in Portland, Oregon. And we were traveling, I was traveling, walking home, and the guy got out of, there was a train track there, and this guy got out and pulled a knife on me. And so I ran home scared out of my mind, because I'm like, what's this guy doing? And I don't know what he wanted to do to me, but I'm sure that it wasn't good. So I've had different experiences like that that made me scared of sexuality, made me scared to truly understand what sexuality was all about, and there were confusions on my part.
So then, as you continued on in your life, you continued looking at pornography.
Oh,
You started ejaculating,
Oh yeah,
masturbating.
masturbating, ejaculating.
And when did it become a decision that you wanted to stop that?
Well, actually, it's about that. That's interesting. I still did it even when we got married in 1996, and I still did it from that point forward, and continued looking at pornography and snuck it. And then I told her I had an issue with it, so she knew. I didn't keep it from her, but I still snuck around on her because of selfishness.
So knowing that, how did that impact you?
It made me feel like I wasn't worthy of being his wife. I too was doing masturbating. I had my own tools that I was doing, pleasuring myself with that. And so I just felt disconnected from my husband. I felt like I was doing my thing, and then I found out he was doing his own thing. Well, why can't we do together?
Yeah.
I mean, what's the problem? What's the problem about doing it together?
Yeah.
No, I don't understand that.
And what's your history, Billie, with pornography and all of that? How did it begin for you?
So when I was older, I guess probably out of college, I don't know, I was in my parents' bedroom and on my dad's side of the bed, and I found books, Playgirls, I guess Playgirls for guys. I found a Playgirl, so I was reading the articles and looking at the pictures and go, wow, those are really pretty girls. Not that I was into girls, but it made me feel excited and helped me to masturbate.
Mm-hmm.
Till I got out of that part of it, and then I was just pleasuring myself to just relieve myself of sexual, frustration as an older adult.
So I just want to congratulate you, because this is a topic that, do you normally talk about this kind of stuff?
No.
First time you're ever doing it?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And so you're willing to share that not only with us, but other people who
Yes.
may be watching this, because you want them to get healing as well. And we
Yes.
really want to celebrate that in both of you. Okay, so now we're coming into more forward time, and we were having a conversation, and you made, what did you say to me?
I told you, basically we were on the phone together, and I said, Bill, I had a major breakthrough. I had been suffering, dealing with an addiction for over 35 years, and I said I got freedom. And you didn't say anything. You're so slick. You didn't say anything that time. You waited for the right time. And your timing was perfect. And we actually got a chance to discuss what it was. And you asked me, you said you brought up this thing that you've been delivered from, or that you found freedom from, an addiction. Would you be willing to share that with me?
Yes, so tell us what happened.
Well, it was just an incredible time to be able to, let me back up for a second. I was extremely afraid to tell you in some ways. I didn't want to be honest completely. I think you said to me, are you willing to be honest? Are you willing to be 100% honest with me and with yourself? And I said, yes, I am. And then I basically told you that I had suffered through pornography, and that I found freedom from that addiction by really facing it head on and realizing it's not so much willpower. Everybody thinks, hey, I have willpower, I can just stop looking. You can't. I got to tell you, you need divine intervention. You need God to help you to get through it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it takes longer than other times. So don't be afraid if it takes you longer than you think it should. Just go through the process and continue down the road and bring it into the light as much as you can, because that's what we did.
So what were the steps that you took that helped you to get the healing?
Well, the truth is, I did a more of a study, not a study. I did
research.
Yeah, I did research, and I found a gentleman who had a teaching that helped with, they call it belief mapping, where you place in the center your addiction, and then you rate it from a -10 to a +10. -10 meaning that it's really affecting you majorly. +10 means it's not affecting you at all, meaning you're through it. And so I found myself in that negative space, and that was -10. And so then I went through the people in my life that had caused these things to happen. I had one instant, and this is a really powerful instance, when that naked man jumped in my bed. I had the Eastmore Record Club, all the kids, when they had their Christmas skit, they did a skit on that. I feel the pain right now over that, because it wasn't something that I wanted to remember,
Yeah.
And I just remember how painful it was.
Oh, Larry.
And how I felt like no one cared.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
no one cared.
Well, we do care now, Larry, and we're glad that you were able to work through that. And so you found healing, and then as a result of that, you made a decision
Yes.
that you were going to then tell Billie about this.
Yes.
So could you tell us what happened there?
I didn't really want to tell Billie about this because I was ashamed of myself because I had hidden it from her. And so I made a decision. I just sought the Lord, and the Lord said, do this somewhere other than your home. And I said, okay. So I invited her to Cracker Barrel one morning, and I knew what I was going to say, and I knew how I wanted to share it, but I wanted to be open with her. So we sat down, and I said, I have something I want to tell you. And she's always so giving and loving, and she said, what is it you want to tell me? And so I told her that I had a pornography issue, because I am delivered from it, honestly, and I feel really good about that.
How long have you been delivered from it now?
Probably almost 2 years.
Wow.
Almost 2 years, yeah.
Awesome.
I wasn't before, and I still was looking, and I was still doing the things I didn't need to be doing.
Yeah.
But we have a closer, more intimate relationship because of me not being in that anymore. Because I desire her, and I'm not desiring those pictures or desiring those movies or whatever it might be that I was
The
using.
fantasy.
Well, and really the internet is what really did it. I mean, because the internet, you could just get it whenever you wanted to, and you'd have to go buy a book, you didn't have to go look at a picture, you didn't have to go film a specific thing to look at or whatever you wanted to do. So the internet helped tremendously with.
So you shared this with her.
I did.
And how did she receive it? Billie, how did you receive it?
I said I understood how he felt, and I knew he had an issue with it before, and he said he was still doing it, before he stopped. And I said I too was pleasuring myself, with my tools and my tools to pleasure myself, and I always felt bad at doing that because I felt like I was not with my husband, and I needed to be with my husband. So I quit doing it too. And the funny thing is, it was like a month or two later, and I was like really having that desire to be pleasured. And instead of telling him, I didn't do it, and I just went without.
Mm-hmm.
So I apologized for that. Anyway, that's another thing. But anyway, I just I'm not off this topic.
It's okay.
So I was appreciative that he told me, and I said, I forgive you for doing that because,
She did.
we had a nice time together.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't mad or, at him for that.
So you understood.
I understood.
Because you had
yes.
your own issues that were going on.
Exactly.
So by you being willing to share about this, it opened up another level of intimacy between the two of you, and it also blessed you.
Yes.
Because then you no longer had to continue doing that as well.
Yes. I felt more free to be me with him in that department than I had before.
Yeah.
Which was really helpful.
Yeah. Linda, any insight that you want to share about this?
Larry, how did your stopping, did that make you any more free, or is there still some fear of being sexual? Is there still any ramifications because you've had a lot of trauma around sex?
Mm-hmm.
Or nakedness,
Right.
or
Yeah.
or intimacy
Sure.
in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
even though it was the wrong intimacy. But there's a lot of trauma around intimacy. So, is there any fear left from that you can feel, or that you?
Like I might slip back into it. Is that what you're asking?
No,
me?
not
at all.
No,
That's
I'm talking. No,
yeah.
not at all.
I'm
Not at all.
completely
I
clear
didn't
of
get
that.
that at all.
Okay.
I get that you are totally free.
I am.
And I believe that. I kind of know that from the Holy Spirit. So I know that. That's not where I'm going. Where I'm going is now moving forward and being attracted to your wife.
Sure.
Now, is there any fear as you move towards her, or just thinking about any fear as you move towards her with that pain of being the naked man in your bed is a huge thing, and then doing a skit on it? Oh, Larry, that's deep, deep pain that goes into every cell of your body. And so that belief mapping is a phenomenal thing to be able to do, because that gets it out of your flesh, which has to happen. Otherwise, the thoughts are keeping the cellular structure of that is keeping those thoughts going in. So I just applaud you for doing Alex Lloyd's work on that. And now going forward with your wife, when you move into that situation, is there any hesitancy? Is there any maybe not even knowing what to do? Is that still there? Or?
Yeah. Truthfully, if I'm being honest with myself, I have some fear about being intimate with Billie because I'm not sure that I can perform. Truthfully, I haven't performed in a long time. Sounds weird, I know, but and men, we all know that it's not about performance, but it's about pleasuring our wives and giving them what they need. And I'm not sure I can do that the way that she needs it. But I also know that this woman is so understanding, so loving, that no matter what we do, we'll be okay.
You will be
As
okay.
long as I go toward that place in my life.
Yes.
So-
And I would encourage you to look at, because what you've done in order to stop, which I think most men would naturally go to this, you have to go to this, which is to stop the performance. And so now that has to be, now it's okay to perform.
Yeah.
So you've got to get your mental state
Yes.
into, it's okay to perform now,
Right,
Larry.
right.
Now, this is what God wants you to do.
Right.
This is what He's given you as a huge gift between
Yes.
both of you.
Yeah.
And that will happen. I know it will happen. It may just take a little bit of time, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
Well, you can just flip the switch and say, now we can turn that on with each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, you said that there's healing that you did through the work that we've done together. Share what that is and give people some ideas about what they can use, because most people are addressing this issue
Yeah.
in their own lives.
Yeah.
What tools, what suggestions would you give to people?
That's a great question, Bill. And what I would ask people to understand or share with them would be the fact that you teach about being 100% responsible for everything you think, feel, say, and do. And that gets into it. You've got to take responsibility for this. You can't just say that it's okay, and you can't just say that it's going to go away, or you have to do something. You have to do the work. And what I found is I've been through your program and understood how to apply these things, is that as I do take responsibility for everything I think, feel, say, and do, I decided to eliminate this from my life. I decided not to go toward pornography anymore, masturbation or ejaculation or pleasuring myself. I decided that this woman is the most important person in my life. And you teach that in your program, that your wife is important and that she is the most important thing and the most important person in your life, and that your desire should be for your wife and not desire for anything else.
Any other suggestions you would have for people?
Be real with yourself. Be honest with yourself. It's not an easy journey, I got to tell you. This didn't happen overnight. I was in it for 45 years, I guess, or I could tell you I was in it for a long time, and it didn't happen overnight. I don't think anything good happens overnight, honestly. I think it all takes work.
Yeah.
And I think you have to make the decision. You have to make a choice.
So you made a decision to make a decision.
Yeah.
By making that decision, that commitment caused you to be able to take the next
Yeah.
step.
Yeah.
How about for you, Billie? What are the tools, what are the suggestions would you have for people who are addressing this in their lives,
I guess-
whether man or woman?
Right. I guess for me, we needed a schedule because we get tired and it takes a lot of energy to do that.
Yeah.
And emotions. And when you're working and both of us have different hours, you have to schedule it in. And I think we've made a commitment to schedule it in for ourselves. Even if we don't get to the woo part of it, that, the climax or whatever, if we don't get that far, that's okay.
Right.
It's just being intimate. It's just being close to feel that connection. And that's what I've been missing.
And literally people, there's intimacy with sex,
Right.
and there's intimacy without sex, and the intimacy without sex really lasts longer than the sex.
Yes.
But the intimacy without sex builds up to making it that you want to be romantic, that you want to be intimate, that you want to hold hands, that you want to snuggle, that you want to kiss, that you want to be able to pleasure each other.
Right. So the practice, rehearse, and drill would be my big.
Yeah, that's good.
Practice, rehearse it, and drill it.
There you go, baby.
Drill it in, baby.